Welcome to the Devoted Way podcast, all about magic and miracles with me, Sora Schilling. It's time to hone in on your intuition, become artful, respectful, and nuanced with your relationship with energy, and live life based on your design. Your unique blueprint encoded with stardust from the ethereal realm and blood from those that have come before you. You know what to do and how to be, so trust in yourself. Hey there, Starbeams. So in today's podcast episode, I wanted to share with you a little bit around what happened when I went to a pickleball clinic. So for some of you, you may not know this about me, but since a very, very early age, I had been taking tennis lessons from tennis teachers, but also from my father. And so, since I could remember, I had a tennis racket in my hand, and every Saturday and Sunday we went, and he was always in tournaments, and I would spend days there. I'd also practice with him all the time, so much so that in middle school, I ended up going to tennis camp every summer and spending hours, like 8 hours on the court all the time. And it was one of my favorite things to do. And it was a way for me to connect with my dad. But it so happened that after middle school or junior high school, my parents made the decision for the betterment of my education and for the safety of me in regards to what they thought in me and the friends that I was making and things like that, that they were going to move me and my brother to the suburbs of New York. And it was devastating for me. It was so heartbreaking because I had an amazing group of friends. I was so excited to go to a new high school. I was a Queens girl, and so I didn't know what it would feel like to be somewhere else. And they removed me from that situation that felt so sacred and safe to a environment where there were folks that were incredibly wealthy, and I had no understanding of the culture there, and I had to very quickly figure it out. Okay, so that's kind of the backstory about my love for tennis. And because of the situation of me moving, I really didn't end up picking a tennis racket up very much after that. Part of it had to do with the perfectionism of, oh, it's been so long since I've played tennis and I'm not as good as I was. But to be honest, that wasn't the real issue. The real issue was it brought me to a memory of the time where I was living a really great life as a kid and everything changed. And so, for any of you, I don't know if you've ever had that experience where things are going really well, and then there is an event that happens that's so impactful that whatever thing that you loved before, you can't really go back to because it brings up all of these other memories that are harder to experience and relive. And so my parents were in town a couple of weeks ago, and my dad, who is now, gosh, he's 80, and he does not know how to sit still. Right. Throughout every day of the week, he has something that he's doing. And I figure he would feel bored as F if all he did was sit around the house. And so I found a court, and my mom had started playing pickleball. So I thought, hey, how about dad, you teach me how to play pickleball? And so we found this great place and he started to teach me. And I have to be honest, I didn't realize, number one, that pickleball has become such a big time sport. Two, I made this association that pickleball was, I don't know, for someone who was much older, and that I didn't think that there was a lot of movement. I didn't really know much about it to begin with. I didn't know the rules. I just knew that you used a paddle and you didn't use the full length of a tennis court. That's basically it. I was very ignorant around it. And so we started to play, and I was having such a good time. And here's the thing. I feel like the most important part of the story of why I had such a good time was not only was I with my dad, but I was with my dad and my mom. And that both of them were having a good time and I was having a great time. And it helps me underneath it all from an energetic standpoint, clear the anger and frustration I have still unconsciously laid on them for removing me from an area, a situation, a location, and friendships that I so thought were so important. I still think they're important, right? But I blamed my parents for moving me, and therefore I refused to do an activity that brought me joy and brought me closer to my parents, and I never revisited it. And so, as an adult, coming back together and having time where we can connect and laugh and enjoy ourselves, doing the thing that I grew up with, remembering my mom and I sitting there and watching my dad play tennis, and then my dad calling me over after a game and a tournament to be like, let's go ahead and hit some balls. Like, it renegotiated everything in me and was a massive healing. And so I share that as hopefully a possibility for each and every one of you. Okay, so now I'm going to shift the story a little bit to what happened next. So after my parents left, it so happened that they left their paddleboard, their pickleball paddles and their balls in my car. And so every day I was looking in the back of my seat and I saw this like cute little bag with like the two pickleball paddles and the balls inside of it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to ask Eric if he would consider getting some lessons with me. And I have been curious around this question around how does Eric and I as adults make friendships? Because we are both in our 40s. We have moved several times. We do not go to church. We do not have any children. And we live in a environment where there is no alcohol, right? And so therefore it's interesting and hard as adults because we don't go to sports functions, we don't go to a bar, we don't go to church, and we don't go to children events because we have kids. And so the natural settings where one can make friendships is not there. And so we've been so curious around as adults, then how do you make friends? So that's the first thing. The second is this question around as we continue to deepen in our relationship, right? We've now been together for a while. One of the things that I know about successful relationships are that partners who try new things together, who learn new things together, create a sense of intimacy. And so I've been curious around this idea of Eric does his thing, I do my thing. We love the different things we do and we love being independent. But what are the things that we can create some commonality around when we are very different people and we have very different interests? And so I put this idea out there and I didn't know if he would go for it. But I also wonder if it's because there was one point in time when my parents were in town and Eric was watching me and my dad play in the backyard. And he saw how much joy it brought me and how much I laughed. And I wonder if he was getting curious around that as an experience for him and I as well. And so I asked him the question one night. I was like, listen, if I book us in for a clinic to learn 101, all the rules and regulations and how to conceptually understand, pickleball, would you be in? And he said, sure. And so I had to repeat the question 3 times just to make sure that he was game and he was like totally on board. And he said, yes, Sora, I will do this with you. And so this past weekend we went and there were myself, my husband, there was another couple, and there was one other individual. And we had a blast all together. We learned and we were laughing and we did drills, and the instructor was great. And so in this time, one of the things that I noticed about myself, which I thought was fascinating, because something must have shifted in me, because being an Aries, I can be quite competitive, especially when it comes to sports, which might be why for a really long time now, I haven't picked up a sport. And I wonder if it's during my self-development journey, if I started to notice how being competitive the way I was, which was me bashing my internal self around not doing my best, was preventing me from really loving myself. So I stopped engaging in an activity that brought that up. right? So just like with tennis, same idea, just not associated with my parents, but associated with me and my own emotional capacity and my own mental awareness. I stopped doing something that was going to create a negative personality or a negative way of me being to show up. And so I was like, okay, I wonder if I'm going to get competitive with myself and, tell myself in my monkey mind, Sora, you should have done better, or Sora, you play tennis, you should know how to do this, or Sora, why aren't you hitting the ball correctly? Or, and I was wondering if that was going to occur. And I was wondering if in that moment, if the way that I interacted with my husband was going to change. And it didn't. What was really fascinating was that every time my instructor came on over to give me individual personal attention and gave me some pointers around things to do, I would mess it up thoroughly. It was like I've never played before. And this instructor was so encouraging and could tell that I had all the skills and the know-how, and also realized that by being there and directed me that there was something that was occurring. And for myself, what I noticed was, instead of me telling myself I'm crap, that why am I doing this and why am I effing it up, that my ability and my need to actually continue to create the space of error and really listen to my instructor give me these particular tidbits around how I was holding the paddle, or where my foot was, or where my gaze was actually very helpful. And I enjoyed messing up so that I can receive feedback. And then, as soon as my instructor left and I was playing amongst the other students that were there, I relaxed into myself and I would be able to play and get this natural rhythm. And I overheard my instructor and one of the other participants say, as soon as, say something around me being, what's the word? Like a secret weapon, right? Like that they could tell that I've done this for a while and that I'm actually very good at it and I could be great at pickleball. And I could tell that, yes, it fed my ego a little bit, but more importantly, what it showed me was they saw me, they got me. They realized that I was messing up because I was nervous and I was going too quickly, but I was also eager to listen and learn and humbly respect the information that was coming through. And as soon as I relaxed, I was able to play and have a great time. And even when I was messing up, still have a great time. And so I hope I share this with you in the fact of a couple things, okay? So the first is, for those of you that are feeling like you're in paralysis because not everything is coming to you naturally and you're unsure of the next steps, I highly suggest that you listen to podcasts, or you watch some YouTube videos, or you join a training program, or whatever it is, where someone can give you valuable feedback that's personalized so that you can digest it, take it, and then play with it. And because of that, then being able to take those small actions that will help you continue to grow, relax into yourself so that you can be in the natural rhythm and the success of you as a space holder through your circles, your retreats, through your coaching, and through your healing sessions. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second is to enjoy the process itself and know that there are going to be moments where things are not landing fully. And you're going to mess up and you're going to wonder what in the world is happening and why are things both internally in you and externally out within you not really landing in the way that you wish that it would land. Because that space of discomfort and that place of, oh, why aren't things working? I wish things would just work better or with more grace or ease, does create a sense of resilience and also a sense of internal know-how that creates this delicious grit that allows you the opportunity to say confidently on the other side, F everything. I can do this. No matter what, I am game to continue to stumble and learn and mess up, and I'm still going to continue. Because in that moment, things do start settling, even if it's for a short period of time, and you find your natural rhythm and your flow. The last two things to remember based on my stories that I shared was that if there is something that you loved doing and you don't do it anymore, to consider that there might have been an event that could have been big or small, right? It's not usually the big events. There are usually sometimes small events that made an impact that possibly you made an association with that prevented you from doing the thing that you used to love, like me and tennis. And so if you can begin to notice what is that memory, and then work with someone like an energy coach, like one of our devoted certified energy coaches, to begin to release that memory. You might get to the other side with a place of greater understanding, a place of deep gratitude, and an opportunity to revisit an activity or a hobby or an event or an experience that you used to love and reconnect with it again. And lastly, if you are ever having any challenges when it comes to engaging with parents and reconnecting or finding a new pattern or a new way of connecting, again, I invite you to consider working with an energy coach and noticing what are the internal space that you may need to take some responsibility for so that you can open yourself up, invite people that might have hurt you into the conversation. And sometimes it's not about having the actual conversation, but having an experience together with you and a clear, open heart, a precise understanding of the internal wound that you don't mirror back or project back to the person who's in front of you, that just relaxes everything and allows those wounds to start untangling from one another. And that's what I found that I've learned with my parents and pickleball, memories of tennis, and now going to clinic and learning pickleball. I know later today, Eric and I have made a date later in the evening to go and practice together. And so there's this new opportunity, and I do desire that during our time together, we live life and we honor what it means to live and not just work or do the things behind the scenes. Okay, so I'm going to finish this podcast with one invitation, one ask. And that is, if you desire not to do things alone, right? If you desire to have fun in the next 4 weeks, if you desire to enjoy being with other people who are also solopreneurs, life coaches, healers, and you desire to deepen into your awareness of archetypal energies and specifically yours and your clients, then I highly suggest that you join us for a 3-day challenge. It is an archetype quiz challenge, and I'll start June 20th. Go to the 21st and the 22nd. But during this entire couple of weeks, we're going to be together inside of a Facebook group, enjoying ourselves. It's going to be really, really fun. And I'm going to share with you some of my own personal sacred ways in dropping into the incredible magic that archetypal energies provide. So join me in that. I cannot wait. I'll speak more about archetypal energies and how they even have created such impact in my life in further episodes. But today, pickleball was on my mind. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about it. Okay, bye for now. It is a blessing to serve you. My deepest desire is to bring nourishment to your soul, activate and enliven your inner landscape, and find inspiration through the sacred stories of others and myself, so we remember we are collectively woven. If you would like to learn more about mysticism, spiritual devotion, magic and intuition, sacred leadership, business practices, and devoted energy coaching, please make sure you subscribe to Devoted Way Podcast. As I continue to serve, may I humbly ask for a sacred exchange. I would be so appreciative if you would write a love note, otherwise known as a review. Share the episode with your friends and community members, and engage with me on Instagram at Devoted Way. If you have any questions you desire to be answered on Devoted Way Podcast, please head over to devotedway.com and send me an email. Stay sacred and discover your path and join the Devoted Way. May magic and miracles occur in your life every day as you co-create a synchronistic new world with the Great Mother. Until next time, this is Sora Schilling.